Hey, it's Cobra here at MaddenGuides.com, and for this Madden NFL 23 defensive plays video breakdown, we're going to take a look at create fumbles with this blitz setup. And what this one's going to be about is showing you how to get some inside pressure, but also able to create a fumble with a certain type of superstar rating that certain players have. So I want to go ahead and show you how to do that. Now, with that said, even if you don't have a player with that particular superstar ability or rating, you can still get inside pressure regardless of whatever defender you decide to put at this particular position to get that type of pressure. So let's go ahead and get right on into the breakdown. The name of the defense that we're going to use for this video breakdown is called 3-4 over, cover 4 quarters. And you'll find this one out of these playbooks as you look at your screen. And for this particular breakdown, we're going to use it from the Chargers defensive playbook. Here's what the 3-4 over, cover 4 quarters looks like without making any adjustments. As you can see, you got 4 defenders playing 4 deep coverage, and then you also got 3 defenders underneath there as you look at it playing underneath coverage. Now, what I'm going to show you is how to get this pressure, and it's real simple to do. Now, one of the things you're going to have to do, let's go ahead and get right out of here for me to do this. And we're going to go into the coaching adjustments here. And I've kind of, like I said, I've shown a few of these blitzes already here this year so far in the game. Which what you want to do is you want to go ahead and set the zone drops hooks to 0. So just keep that in mind. I've already got it set. And then we can come back into the actual player. So let's go back into the 3-4 over, cover 4 quarters. And as far as on that offensive side of things, we're going to run this out of the 𝗩𝗶𝗆𝗄 flex, and let's just run this go double post play. Keep in mind, everybody's going out on the offensive side of things as far as their pass routes. All right, so as far as what the setup is concerned, all you got to do is do this. You go ahead and take control of the nose tackle as you're looking at your screen. So we're going to switch over to this nose tackle right here. And what I like to do is to go ahead and put him into a vertical hook right. So that's what I'm going to do right there. And then the next thing I do is just take control of this guy, which is going to be the right inside linebacker on your depth chart. That'll be the number 2 middle linebacker on your depth chart. And then you're going to go ahead and put him into a middle read, such as what you see on your screen. So that's it as far as the setup is concerned. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a big gap between the left guard and the center where I can manually pass rush this guy right up the gut and get some pressure on the quarterback. So let's go ahead and run that, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at instant replay, and I'll show you how it all worked there and kind of just walk you through it. And right there, you can see I got right up the gut and got pressure. Now, as you notice, I'm not causing any type of fumble right there with that defender. I'm going to talk about that here a little bit later in the video breakdown and show you how to do that. But for now, let's go into the instant replay. And the reason this blitz works, as you look at it, is that this particular offensive lineman, this center, now normally you would think that he would look to block this direction here. He would look to go ahead and block the nose tackle. Well, seeing that the nose tackle has been hot routed into a vertical hook to the right, then he needs to look at the next defender who can get pressure on the quarterback. And as many of us know, before the snap, these offensive linemen already know who's coming, who's not going, or who's coming in, not going. They know that. I mean, it's, you know, if you hot route this guy, which is the guy that I hot routed into a hook zone or into that middle read, then as far as this guy's concerned, this center, he's no immediate threat. So the immediate threats to him as he looks over here to the right side of the screen. So he's going to go ahead and look over this way. And these are his 2 immediate threats. And so he's going to go ahead and help these other 2 offensive linemen to go ahead and block this guy right here, or one of those guys, particularly more likely he's going to look to block the left end. So that's what creates this. And then also the left guard, as you look at it, as far as he's concerned, again, normally you would think if this guy was blitzing, he would go ahead and block the right inside linebacker. But the fact of the matter is that guy's been hot routed into a middle zone or middle read zone. So again, he's not an immediate threat. So the next immediate threat to him is the guy over here, which is going to be the right end. That's going to be the next guy. So he's going to go ahead and help the left tackle block. So that's why this works. So as you go into it, you can see right there as we zoom in, see his initial read as he's looking at it, he is actually at this point looking to block to the inside. But then he realized, no, that guy's not rushing. So I'm going to go ahead and slip over here and go ahead and look to block towards the left. And the same thing to over here to the right as you look at it. As I talked about earlier, this center, the same thing. He does the same reaction here. He looks. Nope, no threat. All right, I'm going to go over here. And then they just part between each other. And there's that big gap. And at this point, then we're coming up the gap right here and going after the quarterback. So that's why this blitz works. Now, as you look at it, one of the downsides of it is, even though I hot routed this guy into a hook zone, the downside of this is because he's been set to 0, he's not going to drop back into this area here. He's not going to drop 5, 10 yards, whatever. He's going to be up near the line of scrimmage. So what's going to happen here is you look at your screen here. If your opponent's smart and he sees this, there's a good opportunity that he's probably going to beat this blitz. For example, this guy right here could be a guy that he might be able to get the ball to. Now, with that said, this is a blitz that you probably do not want to run in a first down situation or even a second down situation. However, if it's a 3rd and 10, you can probably get away with this, and you might be able to prevent them from doing this. Or you're playing against an opponent that likes to go deep all the time. Well, this is going to prevent that. What it will not prevent, as you look at it, it's not going to prevent anything being thrown short over the middle. Now, with that said, there's some things you can do. Remember, we can go back in our coaching adjustments and set this back up, or we can just simply do this. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm just going to go ahead and reset the play, and then I'm going to do the same setup. I'm going to make it look like I'm doing the same thing. So I'm going to go down here, and this guy here, I'm going to go ahead and just move him up. I'm not going to hot route him, but I could go ahead and just hot route him into a middle read if I wanted to. And then I'm not actually going to rush him. So now he initially, first time I did this blitz, I got that instant pressure on him. Maybe the second or third time I ran it, I decided to go with this. So now I basically disguised it. And now, if he goes back and tries to make that quick throw because he thinks that I'm blitzing, then I'm not. So this time if he tries to make that quick throw, well, that guy's not really open now. So he doesn't have this guy open where he can make that throw over there. He's not open because you got this defender here dropping into that coverage. So I just want you guys to understand that you got to mix this in with some of the other defenses, or at least mix it in with the cover 4 quarters, and don't actually have the guys blitzing or rushing up the middle. Just have them dropping back. So that way you kind of mix it, and then you're playing that cat and mouse game. Now that I showed how to get pressure up the gut from the 3-4 over cover 4 quarters with the right inside linebacker by manually rushing him, I want to go ahead and take it a step further and show you how to go ahead and create a fumble when running this particular blitz setup. And to do that, you need to find a defender who has a special superstar rating, and that's going to be the strip specialist. In this case, it's going to be Mack from the Chargers that I'm going to go ahead and showcase for this video breakdown. It's going to be right here. This is the one that you're looking for. This is the ability, and again, it's called strip specialist. And what this does is it reduces the tackle penalty while trying to strip the ball. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this. And I think this one you guys will like, because again, if you guys are looking for a big play on the defensive side of things and you're needing it, this might be one of those things that you might throw out as far as a trick in your bag that's going to allow you to go ahead and get that pressure on the quarterback and possibly create a fumble. From the 3-4 over formation, all we're going to do is just bring Mack in. So we're going to sub him out at the right outside linebacker spot. Let's just go ahead and bring this guy in here. Van Noy, we'll bring him in for now. And then we'll go ahead and sub out the other guy at the right inside linebacker, which is Murray. Now, if you want, you could bring Murray back in. That's up to you. I went ahead and put Mack in at the right inside linebacker spot. And then if you want to, you could go ahead and bring Murray back in. We'll go ahead and bring Murray back in. It's really up to you. You want to just play around with that however you want to sub. But that's what we'll do there. So that's really it as far as the sub. Just make sure you do that to make this work. And then you can go ahead and create this pressure I'm about to show as far as getting that strip from Mack. Nothing changes with this blitz setup as far as when you put Mack there. You're doing the same thing. You're going to hot route the nose tackle on the vertical hook right, take control of Mack in this case, and put him in the middle read zone, bring him up, and you're just going to manually rush him up the gut, such as what I'm showing on the screen there. And you're just going to go ahead and cause that fumble. Now, as you look at it from instant replay, you can really get a better sense of how this works. So, as I pointed out earlier, I kind of described how the offensive line is going to block, particularly the left guard and the center. It's the same thing here. The main difference here is we're going to add that extra thing in here because remember, he's got that superstar ability, that strip specialist. So all he's going to do is he's going to come up the gut as I'm manually rushing him. Now at this point, I'm hitting that speed burst button on that controller. So I'm hitting that speed burst button, which is going to be, in this case, going to be that right trigger down here, or the R2 button. And then once he gets closer to the quarterback, that's when I want to start tapping down on the RB or the R1 button. Then I want to start tapping down to create this this ability to go ahead and strip the ball from the quarterback. If everything does right, he's going to strip it just like that, where he strips it. Other times he may just knock it right out of the quarterback's hands and it goes on the ground. But one way or another, you can have an opportunity to create this as far as with this defense, as far as getting a big play out of it. And sometimes you need that. Maybe it's the end of the game and they're driving and you got your back's against the wall and you're just needing a big play. Here's an opportunity for that. So that's really what I wanted to show. Now, with that said, there are a couple other things I wanted to point out here with this defense. I've kind of already mentioned about the underneath coverages not being good. Of course, the deep zones are nice, and you also got those quarter flats. So you can do all kinds of things with that as far as adjustments with those quarter flats. But the one thing I didn't mention here earlier is I didn't mention anything about doing base align. So one of the things I want to point out here, depending on what formation you're in, it's all going to kind of determine. In this case, this defender, as you look at it, he's lined up across from the slot receiver there. And so you may not want to use base align. Now, you can use base align. You can go ahead and bring them in. That's fine. Instead of something like that if you want. So I want to point that out. You can use base align. The other thing you can do is, I'm going to turn baseline off. The other thing you can do is, if you want, you can go ahead and shift defense and do the pinch and go ahead and pinch it like this, and then just do the same setup that we've been doing earlier. Vertical hook right there with the nose tackle. Go ahead and bring this guy up. Do the same thing with the middle zone read right there, and then the mid read. And then what you're going to do is you got the same setup. The only difference is the nose tackle now is lined up right across from the center as you look at it. So the center being right there, he's lined up right across from him. It's the same thing. You're still going to come up the gut, and then you can get some pressure up here. So let's just go ahead and run the same thing here. And then you just come up the gut and get that same pressure. So that's another way of doing it. The only thing difference by go ahead and doing what I just did there is that if you pinch it and shift the defense, you pinch it, you're going to notice on the outside, those two corners out there are now going to be more like in press coverage. So it's kind of the same thing. Something else you might consider doing, let's go ahead and just do this setup right there. You can always go QB contain if you want, such as what I got here. You can go QB contain and do the kind of the same setup. I don't feel like this works as well. Let me go ahead and make sure I put him in middle read. He's back in middle read, and go ahead and do this. And the same thing. So you can do the same thing. I don't really like the QB contain as well, this setup. I don't think it works quite as well, but you can certainly do it if you want. And then come up the gut and do that. So QB contain might prevent the quarterback from rolling out. That's another option. So there's some different things you can do with this to create some pressure on the quarterback, depending on how you want to do it. The only other thing I'm going to mention to you, with the Chargers, we have two players in Mack that are both superstar players. So if you only got one X factor type player, you may not want to put that player in that position where I put Mack, unless you're really trying to unless he's a strip specialist and you're really trying to get that strip. Other than that, you want to probably leave that X factor on the outside, and especially if he's an edge pass rusher, you want to go ahead and allow him to do his thing, and then just put a fast linebacker in at that position, at the right inside linebacker position, where you can get some pressure on the quarterback. So that's some other things you might want to do. As you look at here, the reason I didn't, I like this because I got Bosa over here, so I've still got an X factor who's blitzing. I wouldn't want Bosa over here. I'd rather have him over here where he's going to be able to use his pass rush ability to get pressure on a quarterback with the computer controlling them. So just keep that in mind. So that's really going to close this up, guys, as far as with this blitz that I'm showing. But I hope you guys take your time and maybe go into the lab and just take a look at this one. It's another blitz that will definitely bring some pressure on a quarterback. As the title indicates, it can create a fumble with this, with this blitz setup. It can definitely do that. And it's just definitely something, like I said, it's another play that you have, or another trick in your bag that you can bring out when you need something and use it. Just make sure you mix it in with some other coverages, or at least make the setup look the same.